Hello and welcome to Two Pigs in a Pod, a podcast for the people of glazing by the people of glazing. I am George Lewis, editor at the People in Glazing Society, or more commonly known as PiGs, and I'll be your host. PiGs began in 2004 and has held numerous informal networking events all over the UK and more recently in the USA to bring members of the glazing and fenestration sector together to network, socialise and to be the facilitators to build and cement relationships to push the industry forward to the next level. The glazing sector is an abundance of stories, characters and opinions, and in each episode we'll aim to share some of those stories from people from throughout the whole supply chain and beyond, debating the industry's biggest talking points, while also getting to know them on a more personal level, discussing their careers within glazing and what the future of our sector looks like in their eyes. Our guest today is Charlotte Hawkes. Hi Charlotte.
Hi.
So we'll just kick it straight off by saying, for anyone that doesn't know who you are, can you explain who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so Charlotte Hawkes, I'm mostly known for my role as head of marketing at Edgetech. I was at Edgetech for about 16 years, so a long time. But recently, just in the last year, I set up my own business, which is instead kind of pivoted into market research for the industry.
Okay. And not everyone decides to get into the glazing sector, especially at a young age. Like, how did you end up in the glazing sector at Edgetech?
I think, like a lot of people, completely by chance, when I left school, I wanted to be a piano teacher. So I kind of started doing that and then got a job in marketing part-time just to support as I built that business. And I actually soon realised that I was enjoying marketing a lot more than teaching piano. So I decided to kind of keep that as a hobby instead and do marketing full-time. And that's when I joined Edgetech as their marketing assistant.
Okay, so when you started out, or before you even started, what did you know about the glazing sector? Is it, for the general public, probably not a lot. Is that the same for you? It was not a lot of knowledge about it?
No, nothing at all. Absolutely. I was kind of 18 living at home, so never kind of had an experience of the industry or buying windows or anything. So yeah, no, going in completely blind.
Okay. How would you explain what the sector was like when you started? Do you feel it's much different now to back then?
Yeah, it's changed dramatically. I mean, it was always a really interesting industry, and at the point that I came into it, particularly at Edgetech, warm edge spacer was a fraction of the market. Energy efficiency was just starting to kind of gain traction, but it was really interesting, and to be part of that development of a company as the company's grown, as the industry's really professionalised, and a huge amount of new product development over the years as well. It feels like it was quite a young industry, it felt like, and it's really professionalised, grown up, and yeah, just the massive kind of strides that have been made in technology during that time is huge.
Obviously, like you said, you didn't know too much about the glazing sector before. What's one thing that you didn't expect when you first started, or after maybe a year or so in the job? What's one thing that you thought, I didn't know that's what the glazing sector was like?
I think, like, really, it's the closeness of the industry. It's such a friendly industry to be part of, really welcoming to new people. And coming from my brief role kind of in marketing previous to that, was in the caravan industry, and there was a lot of negative rivalry there. So coming into the industry where everyone just got along, everyone wanted to do like a really good job, and as I say, just so welcoming. I think that was really, really kind of surprising for me. But then also it's so innovative as well. It's like people just see windows and doors, and but when you get into the detail and like the kind of the massive kind of difference that the products make, it's and how companies aren't just resting on their laurels. They're always trying to move things along. I think that innovation was really surprising too, kind of how much you can do with these products.
Do you feel surprised though that there was so much innovation going on in our industry, but yet not a lot of people know that outside? If you were, like you said, you knew not a lot before you come into the glazing sector. Is that a surprise that we got so much going on in the industry, but actually not a lot of people know about it?
Yeah, I think so. It's, I mean, nowadays with kind of the grand designs and that movement, I think people are appreciating it more. And I think in the research that I've been doing too at consumer level, there's actually consumers are much more interested in those things, and they're changing their windows and doors because it's a lifestyle change rather than just, oh, my window's broken, like I better get it replaced instead. So that's really good to see. So I think the way it's kind of changed and my knowledge has kind of increased over, I think outside it's starting to pull through with consumers as well, like the difference that the products can make.
Okay.
So yeah, it's good.
And that leads me quite nicely on to what you're doing now. You decided to go it alone and set up your own market research company. What was the reasoning behind that, and what will Keystone do?
So kind of while I was in marketing for years, I sat very much on the analytical side of the fence. I think it can have quite a fluffy reputation, marketing, but actually when you're kind of getting into the nitty gritty of kind of the detail and tracking performance of different campaigns, what's working, like I was always very much on that side of it. And looking after Edgetech's global marketing, I was very familiar with kind of the global market reports, kind of analysing those, conducting studies into kind of our brand and that. So I always kind of really like to have the data to back up any of the marketing decisions that I was doing. And so the problem came, though, was the accuracy of the data that you can get. And it was a real struggle dealing with companies outside of the industry because you'd have to be going back to basics, explaining everything to them before you could kind of get anywhere. And even then, when the results would come back, some of the interpretation would be a bit off because they just didn't have that level of understanding. So I'd be kind of almost having to get back into the find out what was actually going on and then reinterpret it from a kind of a position of knowledge instead. So there's that side of it. The global market data, there's so many different reports out there. It's a bit of a minefield. And so I kind of buy these reports to kind of decide which markets should we be looking at, kind of which areas are changing, where's the kind of the growth. And then you get into the detail of them and then you find something that was wrong and it just threw it all out. So really difficult to find decent data. And then kind of when Palmer and D&G stopped doing their reports in 2017 on the UK market, which we'd got that data, and then that went away. It was just a real struggle. I was in a big company. We were trying to put together kind of 5-year strat plans. We were trying to justify investment, and you just don't have any solid data to base it on. So that's why I kind of thought, maybe that's something that there's a gap there clearly that might be something that I can do. I'd pushed for a number of years for other companies that would kind of naturally lend to doing that work, and there was just always competing priorities, so it never nothing materialised from it. So back end of 2022 I suddenly thought, let's see what this is kind of all about and that. So I got in touch with David Amos from the D&G just to have a chat to him about the report and about how he went about kind of pulling together the data. And he was just so supportive and really kind, like really willing to kind of share his knowledge. And yeah, so it kind of went from there really. I was like, well, this is something that I can do. So yeah.
And going back to the data that was a bit sort of few and far between, inaccurate sometimes, can the industry do more to actually provide the data more accurately so it actually helps have an outlook of the industry far better than it currently is?
Yeah, and I've found that people have been really supportive of that. So that's what I've been doing, is trying to, because at the moment companies, obviously it's very sensitive information, kind of market size data and their market shares. So it's kind of having someone independent to be able to collate that and then put it together into a format that's useful then as well. So I think there's been companies outside of the industry who've tried, but they've just not got those connections, and they're trying to put it together in a standard research way, when in actual fact there's a lot more involved in our industry than that. So when you try to apply that to ours, it can obviously skew it a little bit. So I've found people really supportive of helping to pull this data together to be able to kind of give everyone that knowledge.
Okay. And looking at the data, what trends do you think you're seeing from your reports that are happening this year and potentially beyond? Is there anything that we can be looking out for in our sector that could even potentially be something into next year that you think, wow, this could really take off?
Yeah, so I've just launched, so obviously I'm working on the market data, but also I've kind of had a look from a consumer point of view as well. And I've just launched kind of that series, which goes into kind of what consumers value in windows and doors, what kind of product styles they prefer, what terminology they use when they're referring to it. And there's some really interesting things. It's obviously a solid interest industry. There's a lot of interest there in it still, but it is switching. It's like when you get into the detail of younger homeowners compared to older ones, there's huge differences in what they prefer there, kind of the different colours, the different product styles. So it really is going to change in the years as they become kind of a bigger part of the market. I think our industry is going to perhaps suffer a little bit of kind of reduce kind of demand this year. When I asked consumers what how their budget had changed this year compared to last, there was a higher proportion that had decreased their budget compared to increasing it or keeping it the same. So I think a little bit of shrinkage in the market perhaps this year, but when we kind of look at it, there's still kind of for the mid to long term a huge amount of opportunity there. It's like when I ask consumers what they were planning to do and what projects they were planning to do, there's about 40% of homeowners looking to complete a window and door project within the next 10 years. So massive opportunity still there for us.
And obviously, you said a little bit about how the sector looks from your point. Can you go into a bit more of a detail of what it looks like from a research point of view? How long would it take to actually get those opportunities? Could it be next year that we're looking at, or is it potentially even further beyond that?
Yeah, so it's there's a decent amount of companies looking kind of imminently and within the next 12 months to make replacements still. So that's kind of, as I say, while we might see a little bit of a shrinkage this year, it's kind of, there's still a decent amount of opportunity to go at there. And interesting kind of in the new products in kind of flush windows, in kind of coloured windows, coloured doors, and aluminium. I think sustainability will be kind of more important as you've got the younger homeowners making up a bigger part of the market as well. So yeah, lots of opportunities still to go at there.
Okay, and obviously you've been in the industry quite a while now. You've gone from being in the industry for Edgetech and now working on your own. But like, if someone from outside the industry approached you and said they wanted to get into glazing, like, how would you sell it to them? What makes us tick?
I think, as I say, it's that friendliness. It's kind of that community that we've got. I think it's a really supportive industry to be part of, where people want to see others kind of do well there as well. So yeah, just that kind of it's not just a job, it's kind of, it can become kind of friends and that as well.
Well, they say that, don't they, that once you're in it, you don't leave.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's for a reason. It's like, it's a lovely industry to be part of. And as I say, it's kind of, it's always changing and you can make a real difference with the products. So
yeah. Do you think it's actually an exciting time to actually be in the industry? You know, you said that potentially that it might be a hard year, but actually the innovation and the new products and different kinds of homeowners, do you actually think it's a good time to actually come into the industry?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, our industry's always shown that it's kind of resilient through these periods of difficulty, and I'm experiencing it myself as well, because I say a really interesting part where I've got, as well as the market reports, I do bespoke research for companies as well, and so I get to see kind of people that are developing new products and kind of going into new markets and things like that. And so it's like just an awful lot again of just pushing forward in the industry rather than holding back. I mean, in market research as a whole, people are reducing their budgets, but in our industry, it's like there's more interest in it than ever. And I think there's that kind of mentality that they're going to work smarter rather than harder in it, and really kind of, I guess, buckle down on kind of what they're doing and kind of developing new products that kind of resonate or whatever with the consumers. So no, really interesting time to be part of it, and I think the industry will always do well.
Yeah, and how would you, if you had 3 words to describe our industry, what is there any 3 words that spring to mind?
I think innovative, friendly, and resilient.
Okay, cool. And we'll move on to talk about PiGs. We're on a PiGs podcast, so I know you've been to quite a few over the years. Have you got a memory that stands out from one of the events that you're allowed to talk about?
So many kind of fun nights, but I think the one kind of that was 10 years ago. I know kind of Sarah's in her 10th year of hosting it, but we were coming off the triple glazing question that I was kind of organising with Edgetech at the time, and so that was a brilliant one because we've been put so much work into the event that kind of PiGs afterwards was just the opportunity to just relax, and it's like, oh, we've done a good job, like we can kind of relax now. And then there's another one in Manchester just a few years back when we ended up in this drag bar with the performers doing like Tina Turner through the years, and they were really, really good, but no, that was another fun one as well.
And talking about the PiGs events, obviously it sounds like that you really enjoy going to them. Like and you said that the industry is very friendly. Like, how important are the PiGs networking events to our industry?
Oh, definitely. I mean, as I said, it's a big part of the appeal of the industry is that closeness, and that's where you develop those connections, just kind of getting outside of work, kind of your day-to-day for a bit, and actually forming those kind of friendships outside of it. So I've actually had a lady helping me out on the research who hadn't been in the industry before. So took her along to the Birmingham PiGs last time as well, because I was like, that's how you kind of see if someone's going to kind of get on in the industry, and it's a very, very specific type of person that kind of fits and stays in the industry, and it's a nice way to see if there's that fit there.
Okay. And obviously PiGs has been all over the UK, it's even gone into the USA now, but if you were in charge, if you was in Sarah's position and could take PiGs to somewhere you like or somewhere you've never been before, where would you take it?
I think I'd take it to Dublin, because I don't think you can beat a night out in Ireland, and there's obviously tons of really good fenestration companies over there as well. It would be nice to kind of bring PiGs to, for sure.
Nice. And if you was in my seat and you was hosting this podcast, it doesn't have to be someone for the industry, or maybe you can have one from the industry and one from outside of the industry. Who do you want to talk to? Who do you think would be a good conversation to have?
I think from the industry, I'd probably pick Tina Morehouse, who just retired recently from Oakland Glass, because she's an absolute legend and we'd just have a giggle.
Okay. And is there anyone outside of the industry, someone like your hero or something like that you'd love to have a conversation with? Who do you reckon you would be really willing to talk to?
That's a tricky one. Who from outside the industry? You put me on the spot.
Yeah,
for that.
Have a think about it. We'll come back to it. But yeah, we just want to find out a bit more about you on a personal basis. It doesn't even. It might be someone on another podcast that you've seen that think, oh yeah, they were brilliant to have on.
Yeah, actually, James Martin would be brilliant. Okay. Yeah, I can kind of pick his brains for kind of the tips on cooking, and and he's met kind of tons of different people over the years, all the celebrities, so that would be interesting.
Cool. Well, yeah, thank you for that part. We're just going to move on to a bit of a quick fire question round. It's nothing too heavy going. We just want to get to know you a bit more on a personal basis. And yeah, so I'll fire away with the first question of, do you prefer talking over email or by phone?
Phone, definitely.
And what's your go-to breakfast?
Probably a sausage sandwich.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. I used to be vegetarian though, so that would be surprising to some folks. Yeah.
Where's your favourite place to visit?
Italy. Nice. Yeah, good food, good wine.
What was the first gig you ever attended?
I think it was probably the Killers.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've got quite a cool one compared to some of the other guests we've had on. I think Killers, well, yeah, you won't get. You'll get away with that one, I think.
The Killers are great live.
Yeah.
Proper performance.
Yeah. Would you rather have more time or more money?
More time.
And what kind of day do you feel most in the zone? Are you more of a lark? Are you more of a morning person or more of an evening person?
More of an evening person for sure. If anyone knows me, I takes a couple of cups of coffee in the morning before
same.
I'm kind of ready for anything.
What do you see yourself doing in 5 years' time? Obviously, the research company would have been 6-7 years old now. So what do you see yourself doing?
Yeah, so definitely still, I absolutely love research. I love the kind of the surprises that come out of it. So hopefully having supported the industry with some decent data. A lot of what I'm doing, it's going to be interesting to track over time as well. So kind of while I've got initial responses, actually seeing those trends will be really good. So in 5 years' time, hopefully some solid trends shown from the data too.
And you sort of answered it in the first part of the podcast, but in your opinion, in 1 year's time, do you think that the industry itself will be in a better place, a worse place, or about the same?
Yeah, I think the industry's always pushing, so it's only going to be a better place for sure.
Great. Well, thanks. For the last part of it, we want you to give a shout out to anyone. It can be someone in the industry, it can be someone from outside this industry, it can be your mum, your dad, whoever you want to be. We just want you to have a shout out. So yeah, if you want to fire down to the camera to shout out the person you want, or people, you can have more than one.
Yeah. So firstly, it has to be to Chris from Edgetech for supporting me as I set up the business with the consultancy work, because that's really been a safety net so that I could really focus on the quality of the data that I was producing. And it's really kind of been a help. And then also just to everyone that's trusted me with their projects so far, that's kind of supported by reports, and it's really made kind of a scary decision taking that leap into self-employment, the right thing to do for sure.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Charlotte. I really appreciate you joining us on Two Pigs in the Pod today. I really enjoyed hearing about your life in the industry, really. So that's it for today. So I hope you can join us for another episode soon. And remember to head to the Pigs website at www.peopleinglazing.co.uk to find out when the next Pigs networking event is, and for all your glazing and fenestration people news. And whilst you're there, you can also sign up for our new bi-weekly newsletter, aptly named Sty News. Goodbye and see you again soon.